I got to interview like the craziest people, bro. Like,
name them, bro.
Like Kendrick Lamar, Ice Cube, Kim Kardashian, Post Malone, Ty Dolla $ign, Tinashe, Khloe Kardashian, Joey Badass, The Game.
Yeah, so like I said, one of the old guys I've known for ages, he started managing Spaniard. He called me up and was like, "Oh, bro, I'm starting managing Spaniard now," and I was like, just as like an off comment, bro, this is how all the shit in my life starts, just as stupid comments. And I was like, yeah, if he wants to do a book, let me know. A couple of months later, he hits me up and goes, "Bro, were you serious about doing that book for Spaniard?" And I was like, yeah. So I met Spaniard up in the Horror Show studio in Newtown, and we sat down, and bro, it was so crazy. He literally told me his life from start to finish in 2 hours.
Thank you for watching. Welcome back to another episode of The Notorious Experience. This is actually a sponsored episode for the first time. So we're sponsored by Lunar Kicks. Shout out to them for all the support they've given me. Check them out for all your Nikes, your Dunks, your Yeezy slides, literally every cracker shoe you want. They've got it at a competitive price in Sydney, local. Check them out. Also, Fuchs activewear brand. They're still fresh into the scene. They got a winter drop coming soon, so go check them out as well. Sorry for the audio at the start of this episode. It's a bit clunky because I forgot to turn on the mics, but it gets better. I end up turning on. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
I had like a pretty extensive career. Can you give us like a timeline of, I'd say, maybe your first job ever to where you're at now? It's a brief timeline, year by year.
Yeah. So basically, like at school, like I was always mad at writing. Like I got a scholarship to a school for creative writing when I was like a little kid, so that was like always my thing. And then, but didn't really pursue it. It was just kind of more like I was good at it at school, and it was just a hobby and whatever. And then like it was like 2011 or 2012. No, it would have been 2010. 2010, I was halfway through a uni degree, and I just like hated it. So I had this little blog where I would just write about rap music just for fun. I used to share it on my Facebook when Facebook was a thing, and then it get shared around heaps, and all my mates would be like, "Oh, you should do this for a job," and I was just kind of like, it's just whatever, I was doing law and PR at that time at uni, so that was kind of like what I was going to do when I graduated. And then and then I graduated, and then basically back then, like, I don't know, how old are you?
22.
Oh yeah, you would have been like 12 or something, but like back then there was the most festivals in Australia per capita than anywhere in the world. So there was like literally every month of the year there was a festival. Like, obviously there's not that many now because I think it just got saturated or whatever, but back then, there was Stereosonic, We Love Sounds, Future Music Festival, Good Vibes.
I remember hearing about them, like I have older brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
May have went, but
yeah, so I'm like 10 years older than you, so it's like our generation, that was what we were brought up on, like, and of course, like house, electro, dubstep, all electronic music was really popping at that time. So basically, me and my mates, we all just like to go to festivals and, just hang out, get off head and whatever. And then I was just reviewing festivals just for the tickets. So like, I just started reaching out to random people and being like, "Hey, I can review this festival for your website if I get some tickets." And back then the festivals were getting to, $100 to $150. So when you're 21 years old and, a couple $100 to do a review, which is nothing, it's just fun for me anyway, and it's not really work anyways, you just do it. So that's how I got started. I was just reviewing festivals. I did that for like 2010, 2011, 2012 kind of thing. Graduated from uni, and then it was kind of like, all right, I'm either going to go to the bar, which is the school you go to for 6 months to actually become a legal practitioner, or I'm just going to go hard on the writing thing. And I was just like, fuck that, I'm just going to go hard on the writing thing and see what happens. So
that's after graduating high school?
No, uni, bro.
So after all those years of studying.
Yeah, bro. My hex was like 45 grand or something. It was something ridiculous, and it was 5.5 years of uni. And my mum was spewing because she was like,
"You living at home as well?"
Yeah. I was living at home at the time, and I was working at Rebel Sport and G Star up at World Square near Chinatown.
Remember G Star? Where's that gone?
Bro, it's gone. It's liquidated. Yeah, in Australia at least it's liquidated, but
they used to be the shit growing up, man.
Yeah, fucking know, if the jeans with the 96 on the back, and yeah, but I was good at that job because it was just kind of like Rebel Sport and G Star was kind of within my kind of like interests anyways at the time. So yeah, it was just cool for me. I was doing that and then doing the writing. Graduated uni, had 45 grand of hex debt. Didn't pursue it at all. My mum was off it. And then I was just writing, and just kind of taking, freelance jobs wherever I could. And then somehow I got a job. That would have been around 2013, I got my first paid writing job, and then that's kind of where it started. That's been that ever since. I was just writing hard for a couple of years, and that's kind of how I built a name for myself. Yeah.
What about the because you're heavy into music, yeah? So
Yeah.
how did you transition from writing into music?
I was writing about music.
Okay.
So I was like I don't do music. Like I did one song as a joke a couple of years back, but I've never done music. I was basically writing about, you know, reviewing festivals or hip hop stuff. Like hip hop back then, it's not like it is now. You know, so many people are just covering hip hop in podcasts and interviews and whatever. Back then, there wasn't that much. Like there still were people doing it. Like, don't get me wrong, but like it wasn't as like, you know, there wasn't as many people doing it now. And obviously because the scene was a lot smaller back then. You know, I've seen you have like Enzo here on before, and it's like obviously like that wave of hip hop just brought everything to like a whole nother level. But we're talking 2012. You know, there was still obviously your big acts like you know, Elephant Tracks from Sydney. That was a big label, and then you had kind of all the OGs and stuff, obviously. But you know, the latest wave of kind of, you know, like you know, drill and all that is obviously taking things to like a whole nother level. But the scene was like a lot smaller back then. There was a lot less opportunities.
Back then it seems like it may have been more of like a hobby or something you do on the side for
Yeah.
fun, but now it's like people are, you know, jumping into it, like they're going all in.
Oh, for sure, bro. It's ridiculous because like, you know, like I'm 32, so I've been in hip hop since I was like, you know, 14, 15, and you know, back then it was like, you know, you had your Hilltop Hoods and Bliss and Essos, and you know, obviously before that you had Lyrical Commission and kind of all these acts who you know, they were playing shows, of course, and doing this and that. But then, you know, when 2018 came around and you had acts like 1-4 doing, you know, 3 million streams in 2 weeks, it was just
That's
like
crazy, man.
unprecedented, bro. And it was ridiculous when it happened. I remember still being like, what the fuck? Like, obviously you had like guys from the underground, especially like Curse, for example. He's like you know, the one who paved the way for all of us. Cursor, he's been smashing the charts ever since he came out, and that would have been around the same time, you know, 2011, 2012 when he came out and really started making a name for himself. And then again, you know, the underground stuff started popping in 2018, 2017 with Chillin' It, Husky, Wombat, and all those kind of guys. And then, you know, 2018, 2019, the drill shit, and that was just, everything just got raised again. And it's just like, to see it now, you know, so many brands and so many labels, booking agents, festivals getting involved in hip hop, and you know, a lot of people actually making a living off it. It's mad, bro. Like, it's mad that people can make, you know, money off their hobby, and I guess that's the end goal for all of us, to create a community where everyone can like actually live off this shit, which didn't necessarily exist before, or if it did exist, it was for a kind of smaller group of people, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the small window. You've been in the game for a long time, and I'll use this analogy of footy. Like growing up, playing a lot of footy around a lot of good people in the area, you see like some people, probably one guy's the best player I've ever seen in my life. His name's Addison Demetrio, but he never made NRL. So, you know, transferring that to music, what's one person who you think is like one of the best artists you've ever seen, you know, minus the statistics, the stream numbers, and if they made it or not, but who's one guy that, or one girl that you've seen growing up who's like the best ever, regardless of if they made it or not?
Jesus, hard question.
Not to say like that they're better than anyone else, but like
Yeah.
who's one person maybe that didn't make it you think is like that people know who are in the scene?
Who didn't make it. I never really want to say that someone hasn't made it, because like even now we're seeing so many guys, you know, who've been in the game for a long time, still smashing it. You know what I mean? And you know, like I think if the past few years have proved anything, it's that like the music industry is like so much more unpredictable nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, there's the big trend now of all the drill artists using 2000s pop songs in their kind of hooks and stuff. You know, Tion Wayne does it. You know, he just had a single which sampled LaRue, and then just recently Cursor sampled Joel Turner. Obviously Jack Harlow sampled Fergie. So it's like we live in an era now where it's like something like that can propel your career again. You know what I'm saying? So I never really want to say that someone hasn't made it, because we're now living in a time where, you know, nostalgia is always like, that's always been a powerful thing, but now it's being incorporated in the music industry on a whole nother level. Obviously hip hop was built on sampling and stuff, but this is kind of like, you know, Jack Harlow taking a whole fucking segment of a Fergie song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kids these days know it as the Jack Harlow song.
Yeah, and then everyone starts talking about Fergie again, and obviously we haven't heard about I haven't heard about Fergie in a long time. So yeah, it's just hard to say nowadays. But there's a lot of guys who I think, if you mean like underrated, there's a lot of people who I think are underrated. Scam, he's like a young guy from New South Wales, the coast. He lives in Sydney now. Like he's crazy. He's probably like one of the best storytellers like in the country. Kobe D, like he's huge, but he's not huge, but like he tours and he gets festival slots and gets radio play and stuff. But I still think that he could be like bigger than he is, because I think he's like the craziest talent. Posse Shot from Melbourne, wearing their jumper now. They're crazy.
Where do you get your style from, bro? What do you draw inspiration for? I've seen your Instagram, it's a different style. I like it. It's like hip hop type style.
Yeah.
Where do you get your inspiration from? You always been into fashion?
Yeah. I've always been like, when I first started writing, I was writing kind of 50-50. I was writing about sneakers and fashion and stuff, but music, and it was kind of like an equal split. And then I guess as I grew older, it was more kind of like just, I like the music stuff more, so I gravitated more towards that. And sneaker stuff was just kind of getting a bit like boring for me. Like honestly, sneaker stuff I was into heavy for like a long time. I worked with Nike on a lot of projects back in the day. But nowadays it's just like I wear the same shit I was wearing like fucking 10 years ago, It's just...
Yeah, those type of shoes, I haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah, well, they just retro everything anyways. They retro everything every 2 years anyways. So, yeah, it's like, style, it's like, I guess it's especially hip-hop, it's been like so intrinsically linked, you know what I mean? It can never be separated, hip-hop and fashion, so... Yeah, I've always been into that stuff, but just I wasn't as passionate about it as the music. And nowadays, it's like I don't even talk about sneakers that much. Like I wear the same 2 pairs the whole time. I'm 32, so it's like I had my fun of having every single fucking Air Max 95, like 200 pairs, doing all this shit with Nike. And that was mad to work with Nike.
What did you do with them?
Basically, one year they had like it was like a couple of years ago they started this thing called Air Max Day, and basically it's the day where they do like special releases of Air Max and shit like that. So for the first 2 or 3 years they did it, I was like an ambassador for the Air Max 95, got to do cool events and speak at events and host a couple of events for Nike and stuff like that, and they cut me a check, so good on them. Yeah, which for me was crazy at the time, getting a check from Nike, that's like something off the bucket list, but I haven't got a check from them in a while, so... Yeah, anyone from Nike who's watching, bro, like...
Where did you grow up? What area?
I grew up in Maroubra.
So what propelled you to, essentially get a check from Nike eventually in your career? Because you started as just writing by yourself.
Yeah.
You went out of a limb and, stacked your uni degree.
Yeah.
It's a big risk. So what do you reckon was like the propelling moment?
Sacked it. Well, I think back then it was like Instagram was just taken off. It was just taken off, so I probably got Instagram like 2014 or something, and I realized very, very early on that to be a writer, you can be the most talented writer in the world, but if people don't connect to you on a human level, you're not going to get that far. Well, you might, but like I wanted to be bigger than that, you know what I'm saying? So I was doing the writing shit, but I was also going hard on Insta, just doing dumb shit, like posting dumb shit, posting like kicks and like fits and that. And that's eventually, like, I just got known as the guy who would always rock Air Max 95s. And 95s weren't as popular back then. I mean, there was definitely still heads who loved them, but, even like TNs, Tailwind 4s, Shocks, shit which is like so common nowadays, like everyone wears, that shit was not, like, I'm talking late 2000s to early 2010s, it was not like... Like, people would laugh at you if you wore TNs, you know what I'm saying? Which is weird to say now because it's like TNs is like everywhere, But even back then, like 90s and 1s and that were always popular, but I think it was a different level to be wearing Tailwind 4s, Shocks NZ and TNs. That was like a different caliber of people. Like, you had to be prepared to fight with them if you're going to wear them in the mid to late 2000s, So like, I was just wearing 95s and going hard on the 95 thing. And then I guess Nike just somehow found me on Instagram or whatever, because I was friends with the guys from Sneaker Freaker. Like a lot of the guys that I'm best friends with in Melbourne, they started off in Sneaker Freaker and those sort of magazines and that sort of stuff. So I guess somehow they got wind of me, and then Nike been really good to me since then. Like all the people that I knew that worked there, they moved on. Some of them moved to Portland at the headquarters in Nike. Some of them just moved on to different jobs. But yeah, they sorted me out for a couple of years there. Yeah, just hosting events, just talking, doing this and that. There's a couple of photos of it somewhere on the internet, but yeah, it was a cool time of my life, especially to be recognised by kind of a big brand like that.
Yeah. You're still young. I'm not going to say you're old, but what would you say? Still a long career ahead of you. What would you say is probably the highlight so far of everything you've done?
It's been a lot, man. I think when I was younger, it was more superficial stuff, like getting a check from Nike. Like, obviously that's cool and shit. And like, when I was interviewing a lot of like international rap stars, like I said back then, there weren't that many hip hop journalists like who were active in Australia. So I got to interview like the craziest people, bro. Like,
go name them, bro.
Like Kendrick Lamar, Ice Cube, Kim Kardashian, Post Malone, Ty Dolla $ign. Tinashe, Khloe Kardashian, heaps of people, bro. Like Joey Badass, yeah, just like The Game. Like heaps of people I looked up to when I was a kid, and I think for a long time that was kind of like my motivation. Not in a superficial sense, because it's like, who doesn't want to meet their heroes and stuff, but also because I knew that if I was interviewing these big names, it would kind of cause more noise on social media and people would be like, who the fuck's this guy? He's interviewing all these people. So I knew that it was going to kind of like propel my profile, you know what I'm saying? But I think as I've grown older, it's been kind of like working more closely with artists in like the Australian space and kind of seeing like that whole ascension of Australian hip hop like firsthand. That's been like really crazy for me, because it wasn't that long ago this music got laughed at, bro. If we talk about underground hip hop, drill, grime, this shit would get laughed at, bro, and people would be like, oh, you fucking junkies, look at these fucking junkies, you cunts are never gonna make it, get back on Centrelink, do this, do that. And then I was working with these artists because I knew that they had something, you know. I'm not from like that life, but like I can appreciate like subculture and people who have talent, you know what I'm saying? Like anyone who stands on their own 2 feet and does their own thing, like regardless of what anyone says or regardless of what's accepted in the mainstream or what's popping at the time, I respect it straight away.
It's hard.
So like Cursor, the first one, you know, to kind of break that kind of ceiling, and then all the rappers that followed after that. So, you know, like I mentioned before, Chillin' It, Husky, Wombat, all those guys. Like I started managing Triple One, so I was working with them really, really close. And you know, to see these guys like they were playing, you know, shows in front of like 50, 100 people. Nowadays, Chillin' It's selling 5,000 tickets a city, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to see that like firsthand, and you know, see his ascension and everyone else, you know, as well, has been like really rewarding for me, because you know, all these guys come up to me and they say, hey, I remember back when no one gave a fuck about me, but you did that interview and I really appreciate that. And I'm like, yeah, fucking of course, you know, like I feel like it's the journalist's job, like you're a journalist too, it's the journalist's job to kind of tell the story of the person that they're interviewing. So it's not about me. Like it is about me in the sense of like I'm trying to boost my profile and do whatever, but it's at the end of the day, it's about telling the story. You're being the vehicle that you can, from between the artist and the audience, you know, you're there to tell their story the best way you can. Yeah. So and even like in 2018, the 1-4 shit, you know, when we first interviewed 1-4, they were getting heaps of hate online. You know, people will be like, what the fuck are you guys drilling in Australia, drilling koalas and kangaroos and this and that. And then now it's like everyone's fucking on 1-4's dick. You know what I'm saying? So to see like just different sections of the underground kind of get over, that's been like the most rewarding, you know what I mean? You know, from 1-4 when I first met him, sitting at Sony Records, you know, doing a studio session, and like no one knew who they were. Well, people knew who they were, but no one on like an industry level knew who they were. They were getting a couple of 100,000 views on kind of their early singles. I'm talking like Ready for War, Shanks. This was before Shanks and shit. Ready for War, Want the Money, What You Know, kind of like the really early 2018 singles. And obviously to see them now, like props to them, man. And that whole scene's gone crazy. So
why do you think they've taken off?
1-4? I think because they did a style that hadn't really been touched before. Like, I don't want to say they were the very first to do kind of UK-inspired drill here. I guess someone's going to call me out for that. But I think they were the first ones to do it on that level with such conviction. And I think they really did a good job in kind of presenting the 5 members of them kind of...
Oh my god, that hasn't even been recording.
That's alright, I can use the sound from the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were the first ones to kind of like really do it on that level, and also kind of like, you know, everyone loves a different member of 1-4 for a different thing, and I think that's a really smart move for them to do. Like, anyone who listens to like old school New York hip hop, they can know that, you know, Selly was heavily influenced by that stuff, whereas, you know, JMs and Spenny are more influenced from the UK, kind of like that kind of strand of stuff. So yeah, I think they're a diverse group. I think they've shown that, and they did the drill sound with conviction, and they've been able to kind of move into different lanes as well. Yeah.
So you're managing Nerve.
Yeah.
So you say his name.
Yeah.
And you said you managed Trippy One before.
Triple One. Yeah.
You still manage?
No, I don't manage Triple One anymore, but we're still cool. We're still mates and that.
So it seems like you've had access to, you know, a lot of hip hop artists and artists in general. Did you pick Nerve? Did he reach out to you? Why did you?
It was. The thing is, bro, it's like with the scene, with the underground and stuff, it's like I feel really strongly about this, that like to kind of have a long career, you have to have a team. Like, and I'm not saying you have to sign to a label or like do this or that, but you have to have like a manager that shares your vision. You have to have a booking agent that shares your vision. If you do something with a label or distributor, they have to share your vision. And that team is kind of what takes you from kind of just being someone who's hot into someone who has a career.
There's a lot of behind the scenes things. That
so much. And people don't realize, bro. And I understand the hesitancy of a lot of guys from the underground. You know, they've built kind of like this strong following, and they don't want to like cut people in or whatever. But at the end of the day, I really do feel really passionately that it's the people who got a team that managed to elevate themselves over the underground, you know what I'm saying, and kind of become a whole big entity unto itself. So with Nerve, it was kind of like, this would have been 2019. He had, you know, a couple of songs that had been smashed on the radio. He was already kind of like huge in the grime scene back then. He was doing a lot of things, but you know, I really think he needed to kind of, you know, get all those other parts sorted, like a booking agent, like a distributor, like a manager, all that shit, to kind of like really take him to where we all know he can go. So yeah, it was just New Year's Eve one year. He invited me down to a festival he was playing in Melbourne. I went down, we just had a yarn, and then like that was it.
Yeah,
yeah, that was it. There's no paperwork or nothing, just shook hands and that was it.
How'd you get into managing originally? Why'd you want to decide to take that path?
I think it was because, like what I was saying before, like I could see that there were all these acts from the underground who were kind of getting big, but they'd kind of reached that ceiling in the underground. So it was time to really, you know, like we were seeing people who were artists from the underground who were, you know, getting hundreds of thousands of plays, which was more than, you know, the major label hip hop artists at the time, but they weren't getting any shows.
Yeah, 100,000 of plays on its own doesn't really cut you like a full-time check, does it?
Well, no, it doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't. But what I'm saying is, like, they were getting more plays than the guys who were being pushed by major labels and played on radio and shit. So I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? If them by themselves releasing shit from a bedroom or a fucking garage is able to get more online traction than this shit with no marketing or nothing, then there's something there. You know what I mean? So I think my job really was, as a journalist, is interviewing these guys and hanging out with them shows and stuff. I was like, how do we connect the dots between, you know, having a big following on YouTube? How do we convert that, first of all, to Spotify, Apple, and digital streaming platforms? And then how do we convert that into actual hard ticket sales of shows and festival bookings and shit like that? So I just made that my mission. And like, so I started working with Triple One, and, you know, the first thing I did was reach out to, you know, distributors that I just knew from back in the day, or people that were throwing festivals. I was like, hey, there's a new guys called Triple One, you know, they're going crazy. They got this big online following. They're smashing it in Europe, Eastern Europe and Australia, which was kind of like, that wasn't common to have like European attention on you if you're a bedroom hip hop act from Australia. And then, you know, we signed a deal about a year after that, got an advance, which allowed us to, you know, go overseas, play shows overseas, got booked at Splendor in the Grass, which they're playing this year because of COVID and all that, but, you know, got booked on Splendor in the Grass, Listen Out, Falls Festival, all the kind of like the mainstay festivals. The audience grew from there. So that was what I like really, you know, was focused on. And a lot of the other acts, you know, went with other guys as well, who, you know, managers started getting in, you know, seeing that there was really something here. And then and obviously now, like, the scene's massive. So it's mad.
Do you reckon one thing you've learned, you know, over in that space, in the manager space, about the industry? that you wouldn't necessarily, I guess, know as a journalist or someone looking in?
Yeah, I guess you just got to do everything.
Mm.
A manager has to do fucking everything. People ask me all the time, what does a manager do? And I'm like, you literally just have to do a little bit of everything. Like, you have to liaise between the artist and the label, the booking agent, the festival promoter, the publicist, radio, press, branding opportunities,
I guess
publishing.
a bit of their personal life too.
Oh
your
yeah,
hand in.
yeah, bro. Like, it's not like a job that you can just turn off. Like, you know what I'm saying? You really have to, like, and this is something I've spoken about before quite a bit. It's like the boundaries between social and personal and work in music don't exist. You have to make those boundaries, and if you don't make them early on, you're going to be in a world of pain. Like, just because, you know, me going to a gig, that's fun for me. That's also work, you know? So it's like there's no differentiation there. And if you let the job consume you fully, you know, it's just too much to bear.
Getting lost in the sauce, or
Yeah, getting completely lost in the sauce, bro. Like, yeah, and I think, like, that's something I'm only doing now, like establishing those boundaries between, you know, my work life and my personal life, because it is, like, so hard to differentiate, bro. And Nerv was on an interview the other day on radio, and he was saying, for the artist, it's the same thing, you know, your sense, because, you know, there's a lot of people who go to jobs, and as soon as they clock off the job, that's it. I go home to my girlfriend or my missus or my partner, do my own hobbies outside of, you know, go play golf on the weekend, go to the beach, fucking do whatever people do. For music, it's like you're so invested in it personally. Nerv was talking about this. It's like your self-worth is immediately connected to your job, which is performing and writing and rapping and producing or doing whatever, which is so dependent on how hard you're streaming, how many festivals you're getting booked for, how many branding opportunities you're getting.
Yep.
So your money and your sense of self-worth and your job are all kind of connected. And I think that's the same for every job to a degree.
in the public. A lot of the jobs in public,
For sure.
sports,
Yeah.
same thing. If you're playing shit
Yeah.
and you're getting a shit contract,
Yeah,
very
you
hard.
get dropped by the club
Exactly.
or whatever, and then it's like anything. I think any job where someone does it for fun at the start, and then that becomes your job, and you have to commodify it. That becomes a space where you have to be really careful because, same thing for me, same thing for artists. It's just like there's no boundaries there. It's all so linked. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I feel like I don't want to go and make any presumptions, but, like, you know, someone who's a fucking, you know, someone who's a tradie, for example, they might not necessarily do trade work for fun. You know, they do it because they get paid a decent wage, and then when it clocks off, they go to the pub and they do this and that. You know, and that's my job, and that's done, and then this is completely separate, which is a completely great way to live too, because everyone I know in music has, like, crazy mental health problems or, like, some sort of anxiety or some sort of, like, you know, ruminating fear that they might lose their job tomorrow, like, which obviously COVID has shown, you know what I'm saying? Like, COVID was the perfect example of that, you know, a lot of people who are involved in the live side of music, like festival bookers or promoters and stuff, they essentially had to stop their job for 2 years, and I can't even imagine, like, the toll that would have taken on them mentally. Yeah, it's just, like, a really difficult space to navigate, and I'm 10 years in and I'm still fucking trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like,
what you've learned, how do you create those boundaries?
I'm still learning, bro. Like,
What's worked for you?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
You might have to ask me back on here in a year and I'll have a different answer for you. But yeah, I think I learned, you know, especially in the past 2-3 years, that, you know, you, like, obviously everyone takes this so personally, and everyone in the space is so passionate about their artists or their music or whatever, but there's got to be a time when you draw the line and you put the phone down and just have to take some time to yourself, you know what I mean?
And that happens at all levels. Like, I watch a lot of content, and Post Malone was on a podcast with the Knock Boys not that long ago, and I was reading the comments, and a lot of people are talking about Post Malone fell off, or he fell off, he's not doing these numbers anymore. And I'm like, bro, this guy's still doing, like, millions of streams, but all of a sudden, if it did drop a little bit, he fell off.
Yeah.
And he does talk about how he took a bit of a break. He's going through a few things, but, you know, he realized he loves to do music, so he's back, but like you said, with your self-worth, and if it's not hitting those numbers, it's in the public eye, and all these people feel like they're entitled to an opinion about that.
100%. And it's just like, bro, the two things like that I love hearing on the internet, it's like, oh, he fell off or he sold out. Like the two most common fucking things you hear about people. And it's also like, I don't know if like, I think you just have to get to a stage where you just don't care about that stuff, because like to do music, you're essentially putting your heart and soul onto like a limitless audience. You know what I mean? You're pouring your heart and soul into something, putting it on YouTube, which anyone can look at, anyone in the world can look at, and you just have to be prepared for what comes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, I have the same thing. Like when I started doing interviews, like I remember I did one and there was like maybe 500 comments on it, right? And like 499 were like, this is a mad interview. And then I had one which was like, fuck, that cunt's earring is so shit. What a dickhead. And I was just like, burnt, hey. You know what I'm saying?
Checking in the mirror.
Yeah, I was like, fuck. Damn. Do I look like it? Yeah, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, you know how ridiculous, like, you have to sit back and realize how ridiculous that is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you literally have like 499 people saying mad, and then you have one person saying something that's not even to do with the interview, to do with something that you're wearing, and you get upset about it. It's like, why? It's like, that's literally, if you released a movie and you got a 99.95% positive rate, you'd be cheering.
Yeah.
Just because 1.005 or whatever the fuck it is percent doesn't like it. But like, you can't, like, sometimes, especially YouTube is vicious, and like sometimes it's just like, yeah, so you have to learn just to like have a thick skin and realize that I feel that if you do something and 100% of people like it, like everyone likes it, you're being too safe. I feel like if you make music, especially, put it this way, getting a negative reaction out of someone is better than having no reaction at all. Mm-hmm. The opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is indifference. You know what I'm saying? Like the worst thing I could ever imagine for any of my artists is if they put out a song and someone was like, Like, I'd way rather someone be like, this is the worst song I've ever heard. Fuck this guy. He's ruining the sound. Like, yada, yada, yada. I'd way rather someone actually have an emotive response to it than someone just being like, oh, yeah.
Makes them feel some type of way.
100%. If you're making someone feel some sort of way, and Spanian talks about this all the time, like, if you make someone feel some sort of way, you can use that to your advantage because you're still getting traction. You're still getting people eyes on you, you know? And just the way the human mind works, the more that people that fucking hate you, that's going to make the people that love you more. You know, and they're going to ride for you and be like, nah, like, this guy's a legend. Like, same thing with Cult Shotto, if you know Lil Golo, you know him? Lil Golo, he's a rapper, and like, you know, he's kind of like in that scene, but, you know, he goes around wearing Hello Kitty backpacks and no shirt, and he's got like a huge gel mohawk, and obviously people are like, what the fuck's this guy dressing like that? But he just stuck to his guns, bro, and he's dressed the same for like, ever since I've known him.
Yeah.
And, you know, and now people are like mad, like, you know, this guy who's in like a typically staunch scene or whatever, he's just dressing the way he wants, doing what music he wants, and just living his life, bro. And now people respect him for it. And I feel like if you stick to your guns, you know, and really be yourself, eventually people will accept you.
That really worked with Spaniard too, early on when he was making those videos.
For sure.
The Hood Life, like, he was getting some vicious comments, you know,
Yeah.
the background and whatever, but like, look how he's been able to, he just said fuck it and keep going.
100%.
And look what he's turned it into, man.
He's a genius, bro.
Bro, like,
like
literally.
I'm not sure how much he plans it, but like the way he's just maneuvered, you know, the audience he's been able to build and transition into all the stuff he's doing now, it's like genius. And I think he realized really early on that, you know, he's such an engaging talker, and he's able to get people on board with what he's saying really easily. So even in the early days when he was saying ridiculous stuff, it was kind of like what I was saying before, you had people being like, who the fuck is this? But you had an equal amount of people, or even more people.
Loved it.
Yeah, love it, bro.
I did too. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
And I personally think he's one of the best in Australia at the way he's been able to use, you know, what started as music and maneuver into different branches. Like, and that goes back to what you're saying. You know him better than me about his team around him, but how you're saying, you know, artists need a team. And like, he's been able to start with those videos and that music and go into Twitch streaming, doing what he loves, gaming, podcasting. And now he's got the all eats and the videos and the vlog style things. Like, how much of a team does he have behind him? How important is that?
Yeah, so like, I think early on he linked up with Khaled Rahim, who's a crazy Australian producer. He's produced for Kid Laroi, Doja Cat, Rihanna, like just heaps of people. So he was actually, I think, one of the initial guys who really got, started forming that team around Spaniard. His manager now is a guy I've worked with for years and years. He was in the group Horror Show, just a big Oz rap group. But he also, like, their management team also manages Chillin' It and a couple of other people. So yeah, I know that his manager's been putting in a lot of work with Spaniard, and like you said, it's been awesome to see how he's been kind of like going to all these different lanes and stuff. Because
he still does do music, does he?
I think he's still doing music. Yeah. I think it's just that, like if you read the book, he talks about it a little bit, but he says that music's not the end goal. It's just like a piece of the puzzle, And I think with Spaniard, with a personality like his, he can go into so many different things. And I think it's very smart of him to do that, because
I love that he said that.
Yeah, because he's a big personality, and it's not just music, bro. It's like, like you said, it's all these different lanes, and it goes back to what I was saying before, bro. Like, I feel like in music, you don't want to hedge all your bets on just one thing, because of how unpredictable the landscape is.
Exactly.
For like even myself, like I was doing journalism, and then I was doing management, and then I was doing label stuff now. So it's like I'm trying to diversify, like, where I'm getting my money, so that if one thing fucks up, then I still got all this other stuff.
It's like a table with legs. These are your money streams. If one leg gets fucked, you have other legs to stand on.
Yeah. So you just want to get as many as possible, and I think that's really important. And what Spaniard is doing is mad, especially because like in the entertainment space, things move so quickly. Like who knows where the fuck Instagram's going to be in 2 years? Or
TikTok's the main thing now.
Yeah, TikTok's hot now. Yeah, like, and TikTok's so important, and it's like, if you've built your whole thing on Instagram, and then, we saw how fast Facebook died out, you know what I'm saying? So if Instagram in the next 2-3 years dies out, which is not that unlikely, I don't think, well, it might not, but if you've built your whole audience on Instagram and then that dies, it's like, what the fuck? If you have nothing to show for it, then you're fucking starting from scratch, you know what I'm saying? But I think people are a lot smarter now, if they're big on Insta, they'll try and transfer some of that audience over to TikTok, and then leverage that into like some sort of job or like, whatever. So yeah, like, Flex Mami, she's a perfect example. She was kind of like she was a DJ who then became a podcaster, who then became an author, and now she's got a radio show. And then, so it's always about leveraging what you have into something else. Yeah.
While we're on Spaniard, how did that, you're the author of the book.
Yeah.
I haven't got to read it yet because I wanted to read it, in depth. I wanted to read it before I talked to you, but I was like, fuck, we did this like 2 days ago. I reached out.
Yeah.
I want to read it properly. I don't want to rush it.
Yeah.
But how did that all start?
Yeah, so like I said, one of the old guys I've known for ages, he started managing Spaniard, and this was the very start of last year. So like me and him have been cool for a while. We've worked on a lot of projects together. Me and the manager, his name's Adat. Me and Adat have worked on a lot of projects together over the years. I was a big fan of his when I was in high school and stuff. He's only a couple of years older than me, but they were already doing the rap shit hard when I was in high school, and they were one of the flagship Australian hip hop groups, for a long time. So I was a fan of his, who eventually became someone that I work with, which was cool. That's cool, be able to work with someone that you looked up to and stuff and listened to when you were a kid. So basically, he started managing Spaniard, and he called me up and was like, oh, bro, I'm starting managing Spaniard now. And I was like, just as like an off comment, bro, this is how all the shit in my life starts, just as stupid comments. And I was like, if he wants to do a book, let me know. And he goes, I got to sort some things out, but
you threw it out into the universe and...
Bro, I swear it works. Like, I don't want to be one of them spiritual manifestation fucking whatever people. It fucking works, bro. I'm telling you.
It must. You hear so many people talk about like their experiences. Something like that happens. Like
off comments, bro. Off comments. They just work.
I'm gonna start using them.
So I said it. So I said this off comment, being like, if you want to do a book, let me know. It'd be funny. And he was like, I just got to sort out some stuff for Spaniard, and then do this and do that, and I'll get back to you. Couple of months later, he hits me up and goes, bro, were you serious about doing that book for Spaniard? And I was like, yeah.
Had you written a book before?
Nah, fuck no, bro. I wasn't even considered a journalist, really. Like, I've been doing it for 10 years and stuff, but like, did I get invited to the journalism awards? No. Did I get named in like the best journalist or whatever? No, because again, it's like hip hop wasn't like, people almost laughed at it, bro. Like, especially the underground stuff, people laughed at it. And a lot of the early guys had to take the bullets for that. Like Curse is the main one, obviously, but a lot of guys had to take the bullets for that and get laughed at and be ridiculed and stuff, and then eventually be accepted and praised and put on like the rightful stages that they should be on. But yeah, I didn't even really consider myself a journalist. I was just doing dumb shit, writing blogs and just having fun and doing whatever. And then yeah, so he was like, all right, sweet, let's meet up with Spanien and we'll do like one chapter to pitch the book, and then we'll send it to publishers and see what they think. So I was like, all right, cool. So I'd never met Spanien before, ever, at this point. I'd seen him on the internet, obviously.
Where was he at this time in his career?
Oh, this was early. So this was... No. This wasn't early. Sorry. This was the start of last year.
Not that long ago.
Yeah. But he hadn't... No, he dropped... Yeah, he definitely dropped Ilche and stuff, so he was like... But even before that, I've been reaching out for interviews with him since he got out of jail. So I've been reaching out because my mate does heaps of his videos, and I've been reaching out through my mate or through other people because I had the podcast at the time, and I was like, fuck, I get Spanien on because he's never been on, and I was never able to get onto him. And then here comes my mate being like, do you want to sit down and write a book with him? And I'm like, what the fuck? This is so weird. Yeah, so I met Spanien up in the Horror Show studio in Newtown, and we sat down, and bro, it was so crazy. He literally told me his life from start to finish in 2 hours. Like he,
Wow.
like literally in detail, bro. Like he's literally like, yeah, so I was born on, May, whatever, this year. And then he was like, yeah, and then this and this and this, and literally went through his whole life. And he's like 35, you know what I mean? So like he just did that. And then we picked one kind of like bit that he talked about, and we went really deep with that bit. I wrote up the chapter. We sent it to a couple of publishers. And then one publisher called Hachette, shout out to them. They did Mark Hunt's book and stuff, and they've done a couple of books like that. So yeah, they were just like, yeah, let's do it. And I was just like, what the fuck? So this would have been like, yeah, this would have been May last year, and they were like, we want to get the book out by December, and it was May, and I'm like,
In book times, that's fast, isn't
bro,
it?
it's like nothing.
Yeah.
It's literally nothing. So it was May, and I was like, well, when does the draft have to be in? And they're like, probably like August.
Wow.
And it was May. And I'm like, what the fuck, you assholes? So you put me on the craziest deadline ever. And then obviously it takes like just as long to edit the book. So from September to August, September, October, we were just editing the book, and then it went to print or whatever. But anyways, I had like May, June, July, August pretty much to write it. So we were just going in for sessions, like hectic, really intense like sessions, like
Is it he's sitting next to you talking?
literally
to
like
you?
this, bro. And then we have the phone there, and then he'd just tell me, and then I ask him questions or whatever, and then we'd send up to get it transcribed. I feel sorry for the person that was transcribing it, because they would have been like, what's going on here, bro? Like some guy from some website is just like transcribing Spanien talking about like the most hectic shit. But yeah, and then I get the transcription back, and then I'd condense, reword, switch things around, asking for more detail on this or that or this. But the good thing was it was lockdowns then.
Oh, okay.
So like I had nothing to do. Like I was literally doing 12-hour days of writing, bro, like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just had nothing to do. Couldn't leave could leave the house, but like, couldn't really do anything, couldn't go out. So
Good timing.
yeah, it was good timing. So I was just like doing the book just like hard, bro, like for, 3 months or whatever. I was just going really, really, really hard. Literally, like, it's not as like, I was literally on Google Docs, bro. Like, I was on Google Docs with Spanien's two managers, like, reading it at the same time as I'm fucking just smashing it out. And yeah, it was a very DIY sort of thing. Like, I think people, like, when you say book, people have all these ideas of like how crazy, like, the process of making it is. But literally, it was us just on Google Docs, bro. Like,
At the end of the day, like, I'm not watering it down, but it is words on a paper.
yeah,
It's more
100%.
about what is written.
Yeah. 100%. And literally, but I think it's like books have this mystique about them, and that's why it's so funny, bro, for me to come out here and be like author. It's just like funny as fuck, because like it's like, you know what I mean? Like I'm just an idiot, like who just writes about rap music. But it's really cool. Yeah, and then the book came out, and obviously it was like a big success, and the publisher was like stoked with how many copies it sold and all that, and it's just like a good accomplishment to have, because I would have like. If I sat down 10 years ago and had my list of things I wanted to do, like the book would have been out of the question. Like I was like, how the fuck would I ever write a book?
Yeah.
In what world would I ever write a book? And the thing is, before the book, like neither me or Spanien had read any books in like a long time. Like he read books in prison.
Are you a reader?
No, he read books in prison and stuff, and I read heaps when I was in school. And I like reading biographies and stuff, but I read Prodigy from Mobb Deep's biography, and the Wu-Tang book, and like the Motley Crue book, like not crazy like literature, but I think that actually worked to my advantage, because it's like it's not like a bookie book. It's just like it's how Spanian talks on paper, and that's it.
That's just the thing.
Yeah.
Was it hard, hearing? I haven't read it yet, but I've seen some of the topics that come up.
Yeah.
Like sexual abuse and
Yeah.
in jail and that type of
Yeah.
life. For you who didn't come from that stuff, was it hard to hear that or put it on paper?
I think just with that stuff, you have to be really sensitive on how it affects the person or how it's affected the person. And obviously they're very like serious topics. And you obviously want to make sure it's like presented in the way that they want it to be presented on paper. You know what I'm saying? But like, Spanian's very direct. If he doesn't agree with the way that something's been written or he doesn't like something's written, he'll just tell you straight up.
Probably way better than
100%. There's no beating around the bush with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, obviously with those topics and, some of them were very like, intense moments of his life, I obviously want to, capture the emotion or the way that it happened accurately. But with him, yeah, like I said, he's very open and direct. So, we just like, if he didn't agree with it, we just sit down the next week and he'd just tell me. And that was it. Yeah, I think we had a good working relationship. It was just like,
That's good.
Yeah, he's just a very, very direct guy. He knows what he wants, and yeah.
Has it been a good domino effect of, after writing that book? I've seen it everywhere. I looked it up the other day. It's in Big W. It's in all these big stores. Like, it's done pretty well.
It's funny, bro. It's like, I think that's one of the good things about getting with a publisher. They made sure it was everywhere. Like, it was in Target and Big W.
And it's not like it's like $80-$60. Like, it's at a good price for, it's enticing to buy.
Yeah, I think some people offer, but because from Booktopia, I think it was $30, and then
that's not expensive, man. For a book.
but and then a Big W was like 19, and then actually, funny story. Like his manager sent me someone was sending videos to Spanian of them racking it from Big W, and I was like, that's funny, anyways. Like that's funny. Like I don't care. Like actually, I probably shouldn't say that on camera, but like whatever. Like
that's like the demographic it speaks to.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of like how Cursor used to have the his albums on at JB Hi-Fi. They have to be behind the counter.
Oh, really?
Just because people rack them. I was like, that's sort of the same thing. And then, but of course, Cursor, being the genius that he is, turns that into like his marketing thing, and that becomes a point of discussion or whatever. But yeah, don't steal the book.
Cut the check.
Yeah, but please buy it. But yeah.
Has anyone else reached out to write a book after that?
They have. Yeah.
Set any other goals after that, or you just chilling with the music?
Yeah. A couple of people have reached out. I'm just trying to take my time with everything because I'm really conscious of like what I was saying before, boundaries and overloading myself.
Yep.
Not that I work like I work hard, but it's not like I work crazily hard. But it's just like I'm coming to an age where I gotta think about what I'm prioritizing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of my friends, they're married, they have kids, they've done this and done that. And it's like, I obviously haven't done that because I've been prioritizing my career and grinding and doing my own thing. Not to say that, getting married and having kids at 25 is wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying what was that?
I had a kid at 18.
Exactly. and like that, there's nothing wrong with, doing that and prioritizing that. But I chose a certain path. And now I'm saying that I have to play catch up in some other departments, you know what I'm saying? And
everyone runs a different race.
Everyone runs a different race. And like, I feel like a lot of people, like, this is the thing, bro. A lot of people, when you do a creative job, they say things like, oh, that's so brave of you to do that. And it's like, what the fuck is brave about doing that?
It's like about, like the job.
Yeah. Like I get it. You're doing like an unconventional job and people think it's cool and people be like, oh, that's so brave that you did that. I'm like, no, that's not fucking brave. Like being brave is like being a fucking firefighter or like or rescuing like a fucking baby from a burning building or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like people like, especially because nowadays it's easier to become like an influencer or a creative or like have like an unorthodox job. People glamorize it a lot, but it's like, bro, what the fuck is wrong with going to a 9 to 5, having a solid paycheck and putting food on the table for your family? That's like the most solid shit ever.
Whatever makes you happy.
Exactly. And a lot of people are happy doing that. And like I said before, then when, 5 p.m. Friday clocks off, they go to the pub or they play golf or do whatever or have fun, go to the beach or whatever. Just because we're doing a job that's not as common, I don't think it should be like elevated on top of anyone else who's doing like... 100%. Yeah, like obviously I love being able to go on tour and meet cool people and talk about music all day. Yeah, I love it. But at the same time, it's like, fuck, bro, like my mental health hasn't been that good. It's like I haven't really had time to think about, you know, the more personal side of my life that much. In fact, I've sacrificed a lot of my personal stuff to go on tour with guys, to be fucking doing shit like on the weekends or over the Christmas break or doing whatever. So like, there's no right or wrong, bro. And it's like, I don't even know what the original question was. There's no right or wrong, but I just feel like, you know, different paths for different people, bro. And this is the path that I chose. And, you know, it's been fantastic in some ways, but in some other ways, it's also been pretty detrimental. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with just...
Say life reset tomorrow, you're just started uni again. Would you do the same thing? Or would you try something else?
I'd do the same thing, but I'd probably just take more measures in like taking care of my health and shit. Like, honestly, like, yeah, there was like a good couple of years there where I was going way too hard. Obviously, like, we were just touring a lot, and, you know, I was on the road. Used to be on the road like 3 months a year, bro, which is not that much, but like while I was holding down like a part-time job as well, I had a missus at the time, and, you know, there's probably a lot of things which I neglected, to be honest. Like, there's probably a lot of things I neglected in favor of just doing a job. And at the end of the day, bro, rich or poor, we all fucking die, and you can't take that money with you to the next life. Or Asian people actually believe you can, but like, but rich or poor, like, bro, we all fucking die in the end. So it's like, yeah, I think what I would say is like, just make sure what you love what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And if that means, you know, scaffolding 9 to 5, then that's it. If that means going hard with the music scene, then that's it. Like, yeah, you just got to balance that. Yeah.
Is that stuff like, I'm not sure if you have a missus or anything, but is having a family, getting married on the cards for you?
Fuck. That's like one of my biggest sources of anxiety, bro, because it's like, I'm 32, bro, so it's like, you know, my best mate's married and had a kid last year, so like, it's like I'm always around the kid, and everyone's like, bro, when are you going to have one? And I'm like, fuck, got to find the right partner first, bro. Yeah. But yeah, I don't put myself that much out there in terms of that sort of stuff, bro. I think I'm kind of like a firm believer in, like, you know, personal stuff's personal and work's work, and again, like, it's so hard to differentiate that.
Boundaries, yeah.
Yeah, but some people like that, but like chilling it, posts his missus all the time on Instagram and stuff, and that's become part of his brand. So if that works for him, then that works for him. But me, I'm just like a bit more, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Go back to those interviews you're talking about. You said an unbelievable, you know, couple of names.
Yeah.
Back in the day when you were doing those interviews, who was your favorite?
My favorite? Fuck, that's hard to say.
Or which one was the best experience?
Best experience?
Because I'm not sure what was behind. Who were you working for at the time?
I was working for everyone, so I was a freelance journalist. So I was just like,
when you're getting these interviews with like the game and
yeah.
Seriously.
So basically, how it works is, so every artist or record label has like a publicist. So the publicist is the person who goes out and gets press for whatever artist. So for example, one of my really good friends, Patrina Convey, I've shouted her out a million times in interviews, but she was one of the first people to believe in me, right? So she was a publicist who just got known in the hip hop world as being the best publicist in the hip hop space. So any rapper that toured Australia, she would be looking after it. I had a friendship with her. So like any cunt that came through, she'd be like, Kev, you want to interview like the game? And I'm like, abso-fucking-lutely. Wow. You know what I'm saying? And she went on to be head of hip hop at Sony, and she works with me at Warner now. But she was head of hip hop at Sony, and obviously Sony at the time was looking after crazy people too, like, you know, Joey Badass, Travis Scott. Like, I didn't interview Travis Scott, but like, you know, she was looking after, you know, the biggest of the biggest, you know. So like all through those years, we formed a really great working relationship and a friendship after that. So like anytime a rapper would come out, she'd just hit me up, and that's how it happened, bro. And then like I'd kind of put it to whatever magazine that I thought would be the best one, sort of thing. Yeah. Which is actually a really good fucking deal for me. Like, again, I've shouted her out a million times, but I'm super thankful for her for those early days.
Shout out to those people, bro, who actually like for no reason apart from they know you. Yeah. Personally. Like I was saying with this guy Matt that has this office, no reason to let me use it.
Yeah.
No reason to, you know, give up his space whenever, but just because we're good friends and he believes in me. Yeah. He provides me this opportunity. So
yeah, I think people who just see the bigger picture of everything, because I think she's looking at it from a point of view of being like, yeah, she works in hip hop, she has done for, you know, a long time, and you know, who's the people that I can connect with to elevate the scene even bigger so everyone eats, you know what I'm saying? Because like, this is the thing, bro, like guys like Howie are exactly the same. And I feel like there's so much talk about like fucking beef or whatever in hip hop, but like you got to realize that like if you're an artist and you have beef with someone else, but you're both big, you're both going to help each other's fan bases. You know what I'm saying? Like it all feeds into one another. Like, yeah, I get it. Some people like your close mates, but you're like, no, fuck those cunts, do this, do that. But like for the average listener, they're listening to everyone. You know what I'm saying? So like the fact that you're even talking about this guy, you're actually helping his fan base, and his fan base is helping yours. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because the average listener, I know, in my opinion, I don't feel is saying fuck that side or fuck this side or do that. They're just the fans of the music, bro.
Is it hard to stay positive when you're doing other writing or interviews and stuff? Because as we know, negativity gets more clicks these days on social media.
Yeah. I've never done that. I've never ever done that. I established very, very early on that I was never ever going to talk about beef, because I feel like, yeah, it does get more clicks and stuff, but it's like, it's almost a little bit cheap. Like there is a way to do it. Like obviously if the artist wants to get something off their chest or explain their point of view, like then I think it's cool. But I think when you go prodding and like just almost trying to instigate in a sense, beef, it's just like a bit cheap, and I think it's like very short-sighted.
I did an interview with Enzo not that long ago, and I asked him a couple of questions, and then I made some TikToks about, and looking back at it, I kind of felt yuck about it. I didn't try and like get something out of him to, you know, make a statement, but I'm just genuinely curious about like, why is this going on? Because I feel like you're saying everyone should be eating. Yeah. Everyone should be, you know, elevating each other's fan bases and stuff. Yeah,
that's different. There's difference between talking about it. Obviously, people drop diss tracks and shit, so you might ask, and that's eventually going to talk about like a beef or whatever. But I think when you intentionally try and go instigate it or twist things or like do that, that's when it gets a bit like, like I think people who do that, you have to question like, why are you here? Like, are you here to, again, like elevate the scene to make sure everyone's able to eat, or are you here to kind of get, you know, 100 comments from random cunts on TikTok who are going to say, no, fuck that, and fuck this, and fuck that, and fuck this. Like, it's just, and that's an honest question. You know, some people might be doing TMZ type stuff, and if people do that, more power to them. It's just never really like been my style. So yeah, and I think like I've had more longevity because of that. You know,
that's what it's about, longevity.
Yeah, I think when I was doing interviews, people can trust that I'm not going to pull some crazy shit.
And you get more out of them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, at the end of the day, an interview is all about trust. The more trust that there is between the artist and the interviewee, the more you're going to get out of them, which makes for a better interview.
Before we wrap up, we'll go back to the question before, was who was your favorite experience with, you know, those very big name artists?
Yeah, it's probably Kim Kardashian, bro, purely for the fact that no one believes it happened.
That's fucking massive.
It's crazy.
That is
fucking
massive.
insane.
Where is it? I want to watch it.
No, bro. This was
it's written. So
yeah, but even that, the website's been taken down. Seriously? So yeah, it's gone. But
what was that like? She's presidential.
Yeah, this was I want to say 2014.
Okay.
It was 2014. Kanye was coming out for the Yeezus tour.
They were together at that time?
What was that?
They're together at that time?
Yeah, they were together. Yeah, they were together. He was coming out for the Yeezus tour. Then she was coming out because she wanted to promote the Kardashian fashion line was starting at the time. So her publicist had hit me up being like, hey, do you want to write about Kim Kardashian going to Parramatta Westfields and doing a signing? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. There was queues of people. Yeah, like, it was crazy. There was like fucking hundreds of people there and shit. So she was like, can you write an article about this to promote? Because like, obviously it's like, you know, to promote her clothes or whatever. I was like, yeah. So I did it. Sent the article back to the publicist and I said, oh, by the way, if she has any time when she's here, let me know. And the publicist was like, yeah, sweet. Yeah, we'll let you know. Which, you know, when people say they'll let you know.
Again, you threw it out there.
Bro, I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you, bro, this shit works. This shit works. And you can say the most ridiculous shit. And
if it worked with Kim Kardashian, it's going to work with anything.
If it works with Kim Kardashian and Spanian, it's going to work.
Bro. What was that experience like? You sat next to her and...
Yeah. So I went down to the Park Hyatt up in... It's right under the Harbour Bridge. It's like a really fancy hotel. There's all these like fans outside with cardboard signs saying, we love Kanye, we love Kim and shit. And I walked in there dressed how I'm dressed. And security was like, stop. And I'm like, no, I'm here for an interview. And they like escorted me inside the hotel foyer, Had to go. They gave me like a lanyard. Had to go through 2 more security checks, metal detectors, everything, because you can imagine like she's obviously like a very important person. And then sat in a room probably like the same size as this. She had a wall with her name printed all over it, like monogrammed all over the wall. She had a table as like celery sticks, macarons, like hummus, like like fruit platter and shit.
Aesthetic stuff.
Yeah. And then I remember I was just sitting on a chair, like literally this close. I was just sitting on a chair and I was just like waiting. And there was like 5 of her publicists were standing against like a wall there. And I was just sitting there, just being like, what the fuck? This is so weird. Oh, and my boss came because my boss didn't trust that I wasn't going to fuck it up. My boss was like, you're going to do something weird, so I'm going to come. And I was like, all right, sweet. So I'm just like sitting there. And then, straight up, she just like walks through the door there and just sits there. And she's like, hey. And I was like, hey. It was so fucking weird, bro. And the interview was 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
It was 5 minutes.
That's quick.
Yeah, this was the days before podcasting when a regular interview with an international star, you normally get around 10 to 15. Because back then they go on a press run, right? And they go to a hotel or whatever, and then they'd have like literally like 30 interviews in a row. And they'd give you 10, 15 minutes. And, you know, obviously that's like a whole day of press.
Yeah.
So but obviously she's busy. So it was like 5 minutes. And then we just sat and talked about shit. Like, it was so weird, bro.
Were you happy with what you got?
Yeah, it was funny
How
as,
you
bro.
performed?
It was funny as, but it was almost like the fact that it actually happened. This is what I was talking about before when, you know, you build a brand for yourself as like a journalist or whatever. The fact that it happened and there was a picture of it on Instagram was almost bigger than the article itself. You know what I'm saying? Because people read the article for sure, but it's like the fact that it happened and like people were like, what the fuck?
Is it still on your Insta?
It's on Insta. If you go down to the very bottom of my Insta, which is not that many because I archived all my posts, but like I got like 150 posts or something. If you go down to the bottom, it's there.
Yeah.
It's funny as, bro. Like, yeah, it's just
That's massive.
yeah, it's just a funny little thing that I think, especially back then, 2014. How old was I? 24. So yeah, just kind of that's the sort of thing which just keeps you going because you're like, fuck, if I can do this, then I can do this. You know what I mean? So it's just like a cool little thing that happened. And the funny thing was, I went to an event like three or 4 weeks ago, and the same girls who had organized that interview, they had organized that event. And they came up to me, they're like, fuck, like people really, because I talked about this in another podcast and whatever, they're like, people really don't believe that Kim Kardashian interview happened. Like, I was there, like I remember the macarons and the celery sticks and this. I'm like, tell them.
Yeah.
You know, you go out there and tell them that it fucking happened. Because people still out here calling me a liar.
That's massive.
Yeah, but it's just funny again. It's just like, I feel like those relationships you build very early on, they stick with you. Like those girls, like, have been working in publicity for like, how long is that? 8 years ago now. And, you know, I'm still going to events like that were organized by them. And that was the one where 1-4 played recently. So it was, it's like a cool little full circle moment. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that and the book and all of the success in between. What's the plan moving forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I just started working at Warner. Well, not just started. I started about like 10 months ago.
Do you have a job title?
A&R,
Which stands for?
manager or something. Artist and repertoire. Okay. So basically you just sign artists and develop them. And yeah, so that's been really cool. Again, working a label, that's one of them things that I wanted to do for a long time. By the age of 30, I started at 31, so I was a bit late, but we had COVID, so whatever.
As a write-off.
Yeah.
Literally with the book.
Yeah, we'll tick that one off. Yeah, so I started doing that. So I really want to kind of establish myself as an A&R, not only locally, but internationally, because of how much attention there is on the hip-hop space here. So I definitely want to get over to the UK and America for work, you know, this year. I'm managing another act. I want to manage a couple of other acts, if they're the right ones. Outside of that, bro, I just want to hang out. Like,
enjoy life.
Literally, bro, like, I don't know, like, one thing I hate is, like, even though I fucking work, like, I do work, but, like, I hate, like, 24/7 grind culture, bro. Like, because I'm just, like, you do have to work really hard to get where you want to be, but at the same time, you want to have enough time to enjoy what you're actually working for.
Go so fast.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and yeah, that's like something I feel like I've neglected just because I've just been fucking on it all the time. And it's like, fuck, Kev, just relax for 2 seconds. But yeah, so maybe that's something I want to do more this year. Just like find more hobbies and shit and spend time with people I like. And yeah, just do fun shit. And
I appreciate you coming on, bro.
no, all good,
Where
bro.
can everyone find you? Instagram.
24 Karat Kev on Instagram, and that's it. One social media platform.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm not on TikTok, not on Facebook.
What about your artist?
Nerve.mp3. Big stuff coming this year for him, which everyone says, but yeah, he's going good.
Thank you for coming on.
All good, bro.
That's it. We'll wrap it up.
All right, cheers.